Well, hey everybody. I want to get another video out here. Man, I can finally get outside. I like this. I want to get one out this week, so I'll talk again this week. Not about the same thing as last week, but the same thing that I spoke. Part of what I said to the young men on the baseball team, the college baseball team that I get to speak to every once in a while. Something that I offered to them just yesterday, and I think it applies to everybody. Like I told them, I'm almost a lot embarrassed that I'm learning some of this stuff in my mid 50s. I told them, I really do. I wish that I would have learned this when I was their age. So I didn't plan on asking you this, but I'm gonna ask you this. I asked them, I'll give it two different ways. I asked them as 18, 19-year-old young men if they could go back and talk to that 8, 10, maybe 12-year-old little boy that they were, probably playing travel ball or having mom and dad drag him around to different things, or grandma and grandpa. What would they tell him? That's what I asked him. Now, the little boy can't know that they are the older them, okay? It gets, I had to put a few rules in there, I guess. What would you tell him? That's what I asked him, and I told him I didn't want to know the answer. I didn't want to share it out loud. But so for me, as I just said, being in my mid-50s, here's my version of that. My version is, what would I tell my 18 or 19-year-old self? What would I tell him? Now, they couldn't do that because they are their 18 or 19-year-old self, but what would I tell him? And those are the kind of things that I cover with them. Those kind of things. So that's what this is. I wish someone had slowed me down enough when I was 20 years old and told me this stuff. That's what these videos are, okay? Today is about self-confidence versus, so we have a competition here, versus self-worth. Self-confidence versus self-worth. Now, I believe if you will plug that into your life, you will realize that those two things are not even on the same planet. They're not even close. Now, you might think they are, that confident people have a lot of self-worth. Honestly, if you looked at it closely, it's usually the opposite. And people that have a lot of self-worth, they just know that they're valuable souls. Those people aren't usually the ones out acting incredibly confident because they know it inside. So I told them this. Let's say that I would say for them on a baseball team, let's say that your value, your performance for the team, what number would you give it? Let's say they would have said 7. I'm a 7 in confidence in my place on this team, regardless of what you say. So what is your confidence level? What is your number for whatever you do in your life as a human being, okay? I mean, whatever that is, because we're all going to have different occupations. Some of us are married, some aren't. You get it, okay? We're all different ages, okay? What number would you give yourself? And you're not going to tell anybody, so you can be as proud or, whatever you want to be, whatever number you give yourself. If you don't know your self-worth, let's say you give yourself a 6. If you don't know your self-worth, then you're never going to hit that 6. And I'm going to tell you that you're way higher than a 6. I don't even know you, but you're higher than a 6 if that's what you gave yourself. But you have to know that you're worth it. You have to know that you are worth it. Confidence is going to come and go. Your worth has to remain. I'm 55 years old, and I'm just now learning that. Now, I'm going to throw this out there too. The people around you may or may not understand that. When you decide that I am worth this, meaning I'm not going to put up with that in my life, because I'm worth more than that. I'm not arrogant about it, but I'm worth more. There will be people who have always leveraged you in some way that aren't going to like that new you. They liked the way that you were before, when you didn't feel like you were worth much. I do hope that you see that in yourself, that you find that worth, because you can be confident on the outside all day long, but if you don't feel that you have worth on the inside, that outside confidence is just a shell. It's just a shell. I'm not saying that for any other reason other than that's a life I've lived, and I'm not anymore. Okay? It's a very good thing to know that you have worth. Now, obviously the best places to share those things are our marriages, right? To know and to have someone in your life that knows what you're worth and might even correct you and tell you, you're worth more than that, honey. Don't let that happen. You're worth more than that. Don't tell yourself that. That's a beautiful thing. I hope that you have that, because it changes your life. That's what you're supposed to do. At work, it can change things. In your families, it can change things, especially inside families, because there's almost always some dynamic inside a family. You've always been this place or that place with mom and dad. You've always been this place or that place with the brothers and sisters, if you have any, with your cousins, if you have any. You get it. And if you just say, you can just say it to yourself. You can say it to them too, but you have to say it to yourself first, because you're not going to believe it until you know it to be true, and you won't convince anybody else until you do know that you're true, that's true. We cannot rise to our potential unless we know that we believe it. We will always fall to the level of what we believe. That's confidence. We can act like we are, but we know if we truly are. So, what are you worth? You need to ask yourself that. What am I worth? And you know what? That's not going to be an easy conversation, and it's not going to be a short one. You're not going to do it in a few seconds unless you have mastered this. Very few people have. You know, when I speak at funerals, one of the things that I share that I don't know if anybody else shares them, but one of the only things I read from an obituary is someone's birthday. Now, a lot of times, you don't talk about people's birthdays at their funeral, but I do. Because that's the day that God gave us you. And you have a purpose. And you have a life that's been given to you. You have potential. And you have worth. And I hope, and I do pray, that you discover that, because that's the real you. And that's the one I always want to see. So, that's it for me. Till next week, it's Todd. See ya.